When a congressional hearing turns into a shouting match, something much bigger is hiding underneath. This wasn't just a clash of personalities or politics. It was a moment where the mask slipped and the truth nearly came out. Because the exchange you're about to hear didn't just expose tension, it revealed exactly how power shields itself when the walls start closing in. What started as a simple question quickly turned into a public unraveling of secrets, lies, and carefully rehearsed evasions. Congressman, clearly fed up, pushed harder than anyone else had dared, and sitting across from him was the nation's top investigator, a man whose job is to uncover every hidden crime. Now the one dodging every direct question.
Here we go again, Mr. Speaker. Here we go again. This rule is insane. And notwithstanding the gentleman's monotone delivery, there's a lot going on here in this rule, and much of it is not good. What are Republicans doing the first week back? Something to lower food costs as Trump's tariffs drive up prices? Nope. Something to fully fund the government before it shuts down in less than a month? Nope. Something to help with skyrocketing health care prices or reversing their devastating cuts to Medicaid? Nope. None of that. Nothing to help regular people, nothing to help workers or families or people struggling to get by. Instead, Mr. Speaker, these guys are continuing to cover up the Epstein files. Republicans are deeming as passed, which means no debate, no hearing, no markup. They are deeming as passed a new fake Epstein resolution and killing their last fake Epstein resolution. All the while, we already have a real bipartisan bill to unseal all these files. It's the Massey Connor bill. And last night, every single Republican on the Rules Committee voted against that bipartisan bill. Every single one. And as if that's not bad enough, every single Republican on the Rules Committee also voted to create out of thin air a brand new committee to rewrite the history of what happened here on January 6, 2021. They are so desperate to paper over what happened that day, to whitewash it, and to pretend it was a normal tourist visit. I was here, Mr. Speaker, here in this chamber where you are sitting right now, and you can be damn sure I'm not going to let anyone pretend that January 6th was a normal tourist visit. But Republicans, the gentleman from Virginia included, refused to even display a plaque to honor the police officers who were here that day. I'm so sick of this BS about how Republicans support law enforcement. Mr. Griffith and every other Republican on the Rules Committee voted against displaying a plaque to honor the law enforcement officers who were here on January 6th. That plaque, Mr. Speaker, already exists. Congress already passed a law to create it. The Speaker just refuses to display it. Why? Why would he refuse to do it? I know why, and we all know why. It's the same reason why every Republican voted against releasing the Epstein files. It's because Rules Republicans are scared as hell. This is not a deliberative body anymore. Under this Republican majority, Congress has become a rubber stamp for Donald Trump. This is all about the ego of the man who lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. You guys think you work for Trump. You're obsessed with him. It's pathetic. Republicans are ruining this institution, Mr. Speaker, destroying this institution. Again, let me repeat, every single Republican on the Rules Committee voted against releasing the Epstein files. Every single one. I mean, we heard last night that all Republicans want full transparency, but that's just not true. Let me read you a quote from the top Republican in this country, President Donald J. Trump. This is what he says about the Epstein files, and I quote, "It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats and some stupid Republicans," end quote. And at a press availability just minutes ago, the president again said that this is all a hoax. Now, what do Republicans think of that? Donald Trump says this is all a hoax, and if you want to release the files, you're stupid. Now, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that the guy who once called Epstein a, quote, terrific guy, and who Epstein considered his, quote, closest friend, is not actually interested in getting to the truth. But you know when this clicked in for me, Mr. Speaker, and for a lot of people? It clicked after Trump won, and then the backtracking began. It clicked again yesterday It clicked after Republicans. It clicked after the same Republican leaders who invited influence to the White House and then passed out binders about the soon-to-be released client list suddenly changed their tune. And it clicked again yesterday when phase 2 of the binders came out. More information released that's already been released. 97% of it has already been released. It clicked when the same MAGA politicians who once pledged to release everything suddenly came up with more excuses, more delays, and more stalling tactics. And what is obvious to everyone is that someone is hiding something. And while all this stalling goes on, what happens? Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner in crime, winds up in a cushy country club prison courtesy of Trump's political appointees. Not a word of outrage from this Republican majority. Not a whisper of accountability. Just silence. Now, let's not pretend that this is complicated. It's pretty obvious what's going on. The Trump administration has the power to release the Epstein files today. They could redact names to protect victims and survivors and deliver the truth. But they refuse. And there's a simple through line to all of this, Mr. Speaker. We all know why Republicans are doing this with the Epstein files. We all know why Republicans refuse to display the plaque honoring the brave law enforcement officers who protected our democracy and protected all of us on January 6th. We all know why Republicans vote again and again and again for all these giveaways for the rich and powerful. It's Donald Trump. He wants to rewrite history. He wants to hide the truth about Jeffrey.
And you could feel the tension in the room shift. Every pause, every glance, every half answer made one thing clear. There was something he did not want the American public to know. The congressman began calmly. He asked to submit 2 sets of documents into the record. Emails from victims begging the Bureau for access to their own case files and a search warrant that had been almost completely blacked out. 2 symbols of how information in this country disappears behind redactions and ongoing investigations. And then his tone changed. "Director," he said slowly, "the first time you saw the former president's name in those files, did you close the file or keep reading?" You could hear the silence stretch before the answer came. "I have not reviewed the entirety of the files. That's all it took." The temperature in the room shot up. "You haven't reviewed all of them personally? You're the director of the FBI. This is the largest trafficking case in your AY's history. The buck stops at the top and you're saying you haven't read them all." The director straightened, voice clipped and defensive. He started talking about national safety, about lowering crime, about reducing trafficking across the country, everything except the question he'd been asked. The congressman didn't let go. He pressed again. "Then how many times does that name appear in the files? Could it be 1,000, 500, 100? Each time the director shook his head, repeating, "No." But when asked for the exact number, he admitted he didn't know. That was the moment people watching began to realize this wasn't confusion. It was calculation. The evasion wasn't about uncertainty. It was about control. And then the congressman said what everyone was thinking. "Do you think it might be your job to know?" That line hit like a hammer, because the question wasn't just for the man sitting at the witness table. It was for the entire system. When those in charge of uncovering truth start hiding behind technicalities, it's no longer justice. It's theater. Instead of giving an answer, the director lashed back. He accused the congressman of chasing headlines, of playing politics. His voice sharpened, trying to regain ground through insult instead of information. He claimed his focus was protecting the country, not indulging political innuendo. But the damage was already done. The deflection had been caught on camera. Viewers watching could feel it the exact second when the polished calm of official cracked into frustration, and that's when the congressman went for the line that stopped the room cold. "Did you ever tell the Attorney General that the former president's name is in those files?" The director hesitated. "The Attorney General and I have had numerous discussions about the entirety of the case." "That's not an answer," the congressman shot back. "Yes or no? Did you tell the Attorney General?" Again, nothing. Just rehearsed phrases. "We have reviewed matters relevant to the investigation." "Yes or no?" The congressman's voice cut through the noise. "Use the alphabet if you have to. ABC. Did you tell him or not?" It was chaos. Members shouting, the chairman trying to control the floor, cameras catching every second. And the longer the director dodged, the more obvious it became that the question wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. Finally, after a back and forth that felt like an eternity, he said it no, but by then it didn't matter. The hesitation had already told the story. The congressman leaned in, calm again, and asked one more question. "Then why not release everything that involves those names? If nothing's being hidden, let the public see it." The director's tone hardened. He claimed everything credible and lawfully permissible had already been made public. Then, with rising anger, he accused his questioner of baseless accusations, of suggesting the Bureau was protecting predators. It was pure deflection, turning the scrutiny back on the person asking the question. And that's when the tactic became clear. Every time accountability got close, The response was the same. Shift the blame, paint the question as political, and wrap the silence in the flag of national security. That's a playbook as old as Washington itself. When you can't justify secrecy, claim it's for safety. The exchange might have ended there, but the congressman wasn't done. He pulled out something unexpected. The director's own book. A book where he had personally named 20 individuals as government gangsters, people he claimed were corrupt and dangerous to the country. And one of those names he pointed out was his own. So tell me, he said, will you recuse yourself from investigating or making decisions about any of those individuals you've already publicly branded? It was a question that went far beyond personal insult. It was about conflict of interest. How can anyone trust the fairness of an investigation led by someone who's already declared the targets guilty? The director bristled, tried to pivot, accused the congressman of disgrace, questioned his loyalty. The insults piled up, and the hearing spiraled. But even as voices rose, something crucial had been exposed. This wasn't just a disagreement. It was a breakdown of trust at the highest level of government. Because when the people in charge of enforcing the law start treating questions as attacks and accountability as an inconvenience, democracy starts to hollow out from the inside. The chairman tried to restore order, but it was too late. The spectacle had already gone viral. Clips of the confrontation flooded social media. The director's blank stare, the congressman's relentless questioning, the shouted yes or no that never got answered. Millions watched, arguing over who was right, missing the bigger story. The hearing had turned into a mirror, showing just how deeply secrecy runs when powerful names are involved. And that's what makes this moment different. It wasn't about politics. It was about a principle, transparency, the very thing every public institution claims to value, until it's their own secrets on the line. And then comes the rewriting, the committee to re-examine history, the refusal to hang a plaque, the sudden loss of memory about who protected whom. It's not coincidence. It's a pattern. When truth threatens comfort, they choose comfort every time. But the danger in rewriting history is that it doesn't stop with one day. It spreads. First, they rename events. Then they redefine facts. And before long, what you remember and what actually happened no longer match. That's how democracies fade. Not through one dramatic fall, but through quiet edits made by people too powerful to question. The congressman's fury wasn't about politics. It was about that slow erasure, about watching truth itself become negotiable. Because when truth becomes optional, justice becomes impossible. Ask yourself this: what kind of government hides evidence of abuse, refuses to honor heroes, and tells the public it's all a hoax? What kind of leadership demands loyalty not to the people but to a single man? That's not democracy, that's dependency. And it's spreading. You can see it in the way they talk. Every defense, every excuse framed around protecting someone at the top. The same loyalty test again and again. Choose the leader, not the law. Choose silence, not accountability. Choose power, not truth. But silence has a cost. For survivors who've been told, wait your turn for decades, the cost is dignity. For officers who bled defending a building, now pretending they didn't, the cost is honor. For the rest of us, it's trust. The quiet kind of trust that holds a nation together. The belief that justice still means something. And once that trust breaks, you can't vote it back. You can't legislate it back. You have to earn it by telling the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. That's why McGovern's outburst mattered, because it was more than a speech. It was a line in the sand. He was saying out loud what millions feel, that the system no longer protects the people it's meant to serve, that somewhere along the way, truth became the enemy of power. And the scariest part, he's right. Every cover-up creates a precedent. Every silence teaches the next generation that lies are just politics, and manipulation is strategy. And by the time you notice the damage, it's already done. But here's the thing, they can't cover up awareness. Once people see the pattern, they can't unsee it. Once they understand how power hides itself, they start asking questions. And questions are contagious. They spread faster than feared. That's why voices like McGovern's matter. Not because they're perfect, but because they're awake. Because they remind people that anger can be righteous when it's pointed in the right direction. Because they prove that even inside the most guarded institutions, truth still finds cracks to escape through. This isn't about sides. It's about survival. The survival of truth in a system allergic to it. The Epstein files aren't just paperwork. They're a symbol of everything people are tired of. The secrecy, the excuses, the double standards. Transparency isn't optional, it's oxygen. And without it, democracy suffocates. Quietly, slowly, while people convince themselves everything's fine. Oh, don't look away. Don't get numb to the noise. The louder the distractions get, the closer we are to something they don't want us to see. Keep watching. Keep questioning. Because if they're hiding this much, it's because someone has something to hide. And that's why this matters. The fight to release those files isn't just about one man's crimes. It's about the promise that truth, no matter how ugly, still belongs to the people, not the powerful. If you believe in that promise, if you believe truth still matters, make sure this story doesn't disappear into the algorithm. Hit like and subscribe, because every time you do, you help push the truth a little closer to daylight.